Next thing, just to follow up with a little bit more media censorship. This is one of those weirder forms of media censorship, and I'm surprised that this hasn't gotten more coverage from BreadTube, considering the magnitude of the show. Obviously, people are probably aware that Useful Idiots on Rolling Stone has moved, and it's now going to Substack, right? Katie Halper and Matt Taibbi were, the hosts of. And it was an extremely popular show on Rolling Stone. I mean, average their videos, you can look, they'll get anywhere from like 180,000 views to like 250,000 views. I'm sure it was also available on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Instead of, renewing their contract, keeping the podcast going, Rolling Stone cut the program. Matt Taibbi had, publicly left Rolling Stone on good terms and continued, a few months back, I believe last year, but continued to do Useful Idiots with Katie Halper. Then it was announced that they would be leaving and going to the Substack model, similarly to how Matt had. It was unclear. They hadn't really publicly addressed why that occurred. Finally, in the first episode of their podcast, as it's uploaded on YouTube, check it out, everybody. They interviewed Daniel Ellsberg, but they kind of addressed the transition, and I wanted to just respond to it a little bit and talk about it.
Yeah, we can just play the first couple of minutes of this and then respond, because, they do kind of get to why they were cut from Rolling Stone.
Hello, and welcome to Useful Idiots. I'm one of your hosts, Katie Halper.
And I'm the other, Matt Taibbi. How are you, Katie?
I'm good. You?
I'm doing well. A lot of people have questions about what happened and why we're no longer a Rolling Stone.
We consciously uncoupled from Rolling Stone.
Is that really true, though? I mean,
no,
I think
it's
we've been telling people that it was an amicable break,
yeah.
But the truth is that it was political.
It was political.
Yeah.
Should I just come clean?
I think you should just admit it.
All right. So
you cost us both our jobs. So.
I did. I cost us both of our jobs. I created this great opportunity, though, for us to come to Substack. And, a lot of people were calling me an Assadist and calling Matt by extension an Assadist. And I was pretending that, our severing with Rolling Stone, or their severing ties with us, wasn't related to Syria, but it absolutely was. Okay. Oh my God, it's such a relief to say that. So we had political differences, and I wanted to open up a studio in Damascus. I wanted Useful Idiots Damascus. Yeah, I wanted a DT, Damascus Today. They wouldn't even talk about putting into the contract.
And they wouldn't air that glowing profile / interview that you had done with Bashar al-Assad.
Bashar al-Assad, yeah. So, we basically, all right, I wanted Assad to be the third host.
Right. I thought the chemistry wasn't quite there.
It's off screen. There are a lot of fireworks. But you're right. It just doesn't translate on screen. Like when he and I are hanging out, there's a lot of chemistry and everyone notices it. Right. But it just doesn't work on screen. So, I mean, for Matt, for you, it was a creative difference. With Rolling Stone, I think that maybe they wouldn't have gone on board even if the online chemistry had been more apparent.
Yeah. So they're pretty much joking around at this point, but...
Yeah, so essentially to kind of, for people who didn't follow the show or aren't aware of the situation, essentially the joke is that and a joke which is rooted in reality, which is the fact that they're basically confirming that Rolling Stone parted ways with Useful Idiots because of their coverage on Syria, having people on the show like Aaron Mate, taking into account Katie Halper's personal show and her coverage and obviously her Twitter personality. I think that was essentially what they were implying got the show axed. And also the fact that they didn't have Matt's clout as probably the biggest name at Rolling Stone, holding it down for them. A culmination of those two things, I would suspect, resulted in them being like, this isn't, juice isn't worth the squeeze for us, blah, blah, blah. We can't have all this hate that we're getting from our media people. But
I just think it's crazy that you'd, as a company or corporation, be like, let's have Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper do a podcast together, and then a year in, it's like, oh, they said something that was controversial, so now it's like, what did you expect?
They literally named their podcast Useful Idiots.
Yeah, it's the kind of the reason people watch that show in the first place was to hear opinions from outside of the political mainstream. So again, I don't understand the logic behind this at all. Were they given a list of talking points that they weren't supposed to say anything about, and then this was one that they decided to talk about regardless? it just seems such like a brazen violation of their right to express themselves freely on the platform which Rolling Stone provided them. So again, this is why I could never work for a fucking corporation. Stuff like this, I don't want to have to be.
Well, it's kind of the final straw, right? People always want to bash Matt Taibbi for going on these independent outlets. It's like, what the fuck do you want? Do you want people that are going to pacify themselves and play the fucking game and appease the advertisers? Like, I don't think Jan Werner even owns Rolling Stone anymore, right? So I think that, at the end of the day, it's just there's no anchor in like anybody that would, value like journalistic integrity, right? At this point, it's just a conglomeration that's about milking as much money out of it as possible. So if advertisers start to get pissed at Rolling Stone magazine because they're talking about this stuff or whatever, there's going to be no integrity as far as like, oh, we're going to keep doing this because it's the right thing to do because the reporting is correct, whatever.
Yeah. I just think it's crazy again that such benign comments ended up, resulting in this decision. I guess the Syria thing is super controversial still in mainstream media circles.
Well, it's just because they refuse to acknowledge it, right? And even as soon as you start platforming people who accurately point out the massive failure of the entire media structure of America, which everybody from Fox News to
Matt Taibbi does that.
This, like, shit.
Matt Taibbi has pointed that out. That's what I'm saying. It's just stupid about this decision.
Well, that's what I mean. I think it's because he left Rolling Stone as a full-time reporter. He no longer had the clout within the company to like make it worthwhile having him on in that capacity. That's what I imagine. But I don't know, right? I wish that they would have given us, given more information. Essentially, the point of doing this, thing was I just wanted to be like, fuck Rolling Stone, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And like you referenced, people want to give folks like Matt Taibbi shit for taking their business to Substack, but like what the fuck is the alternative when even journalists with the clout of Matt Taibbi can't have these conversations on a corporate sanctioned platform? Like you can't blame people for going to a space where they're not going to have their speech restricted and where their topics of conversations can be freely, curated. It's crazy. Why would you not do that? If you
especially when you can bring your own audience and take it all away. Like who the fuck is reading anything from Rolling Stone now?
Yeah, I mean, and well, that's what's crazy too about this story is that I was under the impression that Rolling Stone was really trying hard to like go back to their roots of being like the cool, outlet for politics and music and all that. And usefully it's fit right in with that kind of brand or vision, having the more edgy voices on their platform does make people like me and you, it draws them to the platform. So, what are they going to I don't want to fucking listen to Useful Idiots if it's hosted by Ezra Klein and Samantha Bee or whatever the fuck. Like, I'm not going to listen to that. I want to listen to their program that's hosted by Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper. And now I'm going to listen to it on Substack and not Rolling Stone. So again, I just don't see how this is a good decision on their part as a company. It makes no sense to me. Because they already have that kind of like centrist block down. I mean, anyone that goes to Rolling Stone for their news is probably not like a firebrand fucking progressive. So they already have the kind of more mainstream centristy demographic on lock. It seemed like this was kind of their attempt to reach out to people like us.